if you realize that the struggles should be invited and not avoided. Because in the corporate world, struggle over here, problem over here, great, I'll go in this direction.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurial space has challenge over here, great, let's tackle it. Because on the other side of that challenge is the victory. There's a path to leadership. I think the first level of leadership is just being a willing student. Then all of a sudden, you can be leading a path for others that you don't even know. Struggle is probably the most important step because you could replace the word struggle with learning.
Mhm.
Dream, goal, learn, and then there's a victory.
Mhm.
Because, wisdom is gained two ways. You can gain it through your own challenges and coming out the other end, or you can also glean some wisdom from those of other people's challenges and what they learn. So I think as long as you are learning, your mindset will continue to be, I'll just say, sharp or in the position to lead at something. My favorite topic in the world is that of leadership. I think everything rises and falls on leadership, whether that's a business, a relationship, finances, you name it. Leadership is everything. And so, if lead, like, what good leader out there, pick a category, military, sports team, whatever, what leader out there didn't have a downtime and did something about it?
Mm.
Which leader out there never had a challenge at all in their life? We all know the answer to that. And so I
Yeah.
think if you realize that the struggles should be invited and not avoided, because in the corporate world, struggle over here, problem over here, great, I'll go in this direction.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurial space has challenge over here, great, let's tackle it. Because on the other side of that challenge is the victory, whether
Mhm.
that's financial, whether it's technical. And I think that's the fundamental mindset difference, is one of avoidance or attraction. And we have the choice of what to avoid, and we have the choice of what to get attracted to. And I think that to me was a huge awareness from, job mentality Rod to entrepreneurial Rod. But it wasn't an overnight thing. It definitely was a nurture, like what you said. Did it have prior influence, or was it nurture? It was definitely a nurture for me, and I'm continuing that nurture process today.
Now, you've worked with lots of entrepreneurs, and you're, of course, been very observant of yourself and others. You talk about leadership, and I've asked this question of guests in the past, Rod, but is from your perspective, I mean, you've been very successful in your life. You've supported many entrepreneurs being successful. Uh, when you look at leadership, there is a fundamental that you hear this phrase, well, he or she are natural leaders. Do you see natural leadership, or do you think leadership is a study uh, for individuals who are in fact wanting to be great leaders? Do you think it's a study, or when you work with entrepreneurs, do you find that many just go, no, it is what it is. I don't need to study anything. What's your thoughts on that study of leadership or not?
Well, I'm very opinionated on that. So
Yeah.
I'll start with the opinion, and then I'll give the rationale. So my opinion is leadership can be taught to anybody. There are
Mhm.
some people who are born with leadership because their personality, their mindset is such that makes them a good leader. But you can take an individual who may not be a strong voiced, outgoing, Napoleon Bonaparte, Churchill like leadership qualities of an individual, and they can be a leader. All you have to do is look at a Wayne Gretzky, or if we talk about hockey, you talk about there's a lot of great leaders that weren't the verbose, outspoken, loudest voice in the room. They let their skill set take place, but they were wise, they were smart, they had mindset. And was Gretzky a talented hockey player at a very young age? Yeah, I had the pleasure of playing against him back when I was single digits years old. Brantford's a stone's throw here from where I live.
Mm.
But his leadership didn't come into place probably till he was in his teens, for sure, when he was put into that position to be amongst men, shall we say. But I think leadership is a formula. The reason I'm convinced it can be taught is because there are levels of leadership. It isn't like I'm not a leader and now I'm a leader. There's a path to leadership. I think the first level of leadership is just being a willing student. If
Mhm.
you learn, you can get to a level of leadership because now once you learn something, whatever that context is that you're learning about, you can immediately lead other people who are not yet learning and lead them to learn. Now you're a leader to that degree of those people, right? And then when you start to learn and start leading other people to learn, you're now leading those people. Well, you can just see how the progress works. That once you learn something, then you do it. Whatever that learning is applied to, when you do it and do the dream, goal, struggle, victory, and ascend those ranks of whatever it is that you are climbing up to be, whether it's business or a relationship, you can put any context to it. You then can lead the way of others. Then all of a sudden, you can be leading a path for others that you don't even know. That's why I don't like these. I'm not a fan of, even though everyone by themselves is accurate. I don't like one catchphrase of what is leadership. Give me the definition of leadership. I don't think there's one sentence that embodies what leadership is. Is leadership influence? I've often heard that one in the day.
Mm.
Yeah, it is, but that's not the only thing it is. I've had the pleasure of meeting and sitting down and being at a board table for a couple of days with people like John C. Maxwell. And you got to start to understand that even though his book each one of his books teaches one principle, he gets it, that there's a big process, there's a big context behind that of leadership. And I believe that context is accurate, but it can be taught and anybody can learn it. It's whether someone applies it and to what level they apply it that determines the position of their leadership.
So when you look at entrepreneurs overall, and I like this topic, for our listeners who are, and many are entrepreneurs, when you look at your experience, is there a common, list of, I think, is there a top two or three things that you see that get in the way of people or entrepreneurs in achieving what they're trying to achieve? Uh, you know, I often work with individuals who, have a tendency. I have worked with individuals. I don't say often. I have worked with individuals whose tendency was to blame circumstances. Then I recognize that there are those individuals who I see are successful have a far greater tendency to not look outside themselves and blame anything. They only look at themselves. They're always looking in the mirror, which is a philosophy that I embrace. So that's just an example. Is there a common thread that you see that, you know, where it's a breakdown of entrepreneurship or qualities of entrepreneurs that actually have them excel? Either way, is there two or three things that you would point out that, if you're listening to this, here's a way to self-assess. Are you
Yeah,
blaming? Are you complaining? That's just one thread to pull on. Or do you actually look at it and go, okay, how could I have done better? Anything on
yeah.
that topic?
Totally. And my eyes are going to gaze over here because I'm going to look at what's on the desktop of my computer on my multiple screens here. And one half of it is called Leadership Is. And it's my constant reminder of what you're asking. I'll quickly read the 10 items there. You can pick one
Please,
if you want to,
please.
but I think it answers exactly what you're asking. So it says leadership is casting the vision, leading by example, demonstrating high work ethic, taking responsibility. So the blamer, taking responsibility, orchestrating and aligning resources, solving challenges and removing obstacles, searching for opportunities, being consistent, maintaining focus, staying persistent, striving ahead of normal, giving praise and recognition to others, and providing guidance and course correction. So those statements came from people, books I've read, circumstances I've been put in, and the lessons learned. And I've distilled those as my reminders about leadership and characteristics of leadership, that the opposites thereof are what you can see in people maybe that don't look to be a leader, but you can say, oh, that person just constantly blames others and takes zero responsibility. That's one of my personal couple of big ones is being responsible. I am responsible. If someone gets mad at me, I'm responsible, not for their attitude, but I'm responsible for how I react. So in any circumstance, taking on responsibility is one of those top two or three mindsets
Mhm.
that I would really attach my character to, that I really strive towards. Not perfect at it, but it's definitely a constant reminder for me.